Republicans on Capitol Hill, including at least one leadership office, circulating a detailed spreadsheet, they love spreadsheets, that previews the series of investigations they believe Democrats may launch on the Trump administration if they flip the House. Axios obtained the document, dubbing it the Hell List. It details expected probes on anything from Trump's tax returns to his family businesses, investigations that could effectively cripple the administration. Congressman Jerry Nadler, who would chair the House Judiciary Committee if Democrats win the majority, said they would investigate Russian meddling, more of that, if any Americans aided it. He also said this.
The role of Congress is not to protect the president, it's to hold the president and any president accountable to the American people. And we ought to be holding investigations.
Former campaign manager to President Trump, Corey Lewandowski, predicts impeachment would top the Democrats' agenda if they flip the House. Take a listen.
When you look at Maxine Waters, who is slated to become the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, Jerry Nadler from New York, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee if they take over, they have no plan for the American people, so their only plan is to be obstinate and obstacles to the Trump economic agenda. And that means starting an impeachment proceeding where there is none to be found, but that will completely stymie a Washington, D.C., which is candidly already broken.
But Democrats continue to downplay that scenario. Here's California Congressman Adam Schiff.
I think as a matter of our constitutional responsibility, we have to look candidly at what is the evidence and what does that mean and what does that say in terms of whether we've reached the point of high crimes and misdemeanors. But I don't think we should be talking about it and embracing it before we've seen the full body of evidence.
So, Larry, this means more Stormy Daniels, more Russia investigations. To me, this seems like the resistance with subpoena power.
Adam Schiff is the same guy who just a few weeks ago said that there's evidence of collusion. There's evidence of collusion. By the way, there's evidence of collusion. Now he's saying, you know, we need to get our ducks in a row before we decide whether or not the president ought to be impeached. Maxine Waters just said the president should be impeached, quote, and will be impeached, close quote. That is exactly what they're going to do if and when they take control of the House. I hope they won't. I don't think they will. I think the race is getting closer and closer. The Fed of Atlanta just estimated that next quarter GDP growth might be 4.6%. That's back-to-back GDP growth of 4%. If it's the economy stupid, and I still believe it's the economy stupid, it seems to me that Donald Trump will have a really good headwind going into November.
Jessica, you have never been a proponent of impeachment, but I'm not sure a lot of people believe that Democrats wouldn't go down that path, given this long list that they have.
A long list that has stuff on there besides Russia collusion. I mean, it has legitimate ethics violations, how the Trump family businesses... Alleged to everything I'm about to say. How the Trump organization and the Trump family are benefiting from their businesses still, how they haven't properly divested, things obviously having to do with how the family businesses work. And anyway, everyone can read the list, and you should. It's compelling. I maintain my front on the no impeachment route. I think there will be figures who will take a more prominent position, like a Maxine Waters out there doing it. But I think if you look at the statements from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Jerry Nadler as of late, who will essentially be in charge of all of this, they are very clear about it. They understand also how motivating that is for the Republican base. If there's anything that's going to close the enthusiasm gap,
that's why they're saying it now.
But I don't actually think that they're being dishonest.
The day after they win, their rhetoric will change. Night and day.
The fate of America, at least looking through a Democrat's eyes, which work with me here.
My mom was a Democrat. My brother's a Democrat. I work with Democrats all the time.
They sound lovely.
Thank you. They were lovely.
A Mike Pence presidency is a much more cohesive presidency. He will be able to get Republicans more in line. We will not have the brash tweets. We will not have the talking out of order. You will not have Stormy Daniels a la Mike Pence. And you will get a lot more done. I believe Republicans will. And Democrats really don't want that.
So, Molly,
that's the scarier scenario. You just leaped the Atlantic Ocean with that.
I know. I was like,
you just jumped.
I don't want President Trump to be impeached because I really don't want President Mike Pence.
Pence would be worse if you're on the left. He's a fiscal conservative and a social conservative.
Yeah, it would be like the Handmaid's Tale all over.
Oh, boy. Okay, the other side of this coin is if Democrats get a hold of all of these committees and they have subpoena power, that also means that they're going to be giving lots of stories to the media.
Yeah, politically, I mean, who knows how powerful that could be ultimately if they actually get control of all these committees. And it could theoretically certainly shift discussions in Washington because they'd be the head of the committees and can do more of what they want to see get done. The other big question, though, is whether or not this would be good for Democrats. If they really do dig into all this stuff in these committees, President Trump's tax returns, dealings in his business. He was a businessman. He had his taxes. He still got elected without releasing the tax returns. He got elected by America knowing that he had this big, complicated business and that his family was involved in a big, complicated
business. And knowing
business.
that he was a playboy.
And he was still elected. So if Democrats do happen to take control of these committees and get a majority in the House and they go down that road and spend a lot of time in that road, then they're not spending time on the other things that maybe their constituents would prefer. So I don't know that
backfire
would
on
necessarily
Democrats with what they're doing. I mean, is it going to look petty if they take over these committees and don't actually deliver on their campaign promises in the House?
Well, that's why they're saying the ixnay on the impeachment talk, because they have nothing else. That is their sole agenda, is vote us in, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and we will impeach the president. It's what they're running on. That's what the entire, let me finish. That's what the entire resist movement is built on. Because what are they going to do? What have they done that not one single Democrat voted for the tax cuts? That is juicing this economy. They have not, what are they going to put all these regulations back in place that President Trump has rolled back and gotten rid of to basically free the animal spirits and get the economy growing again?
But Dagan, right now, Fox News poll, Obamacare is popularity 51%, tax cut it's at 40%. How do you explain that then?
You know what? I say that poll doesn't matter one hillbilly squat, because
not sure what that is, but
if you it's not redneck squat.
That's my way.
Only Dagan understands.
That's my way of not cursing.
I got you.
National TV, Larry.
But Dagan, they got it.
I would just want to point out really quickly, they are walking instead of talking. They are going to Walmart and Target, which have had their best quarterly sales in more than a decade. And it's not just the discount retailers. It is Nordstrom, you name it, Home Depot. People are out spending. That's what tells you the economy is in great shape.
But it's not fair to say Democrats don't have an agenda. They do. $15 minimum wage, free tuition, guaranteed federal job, march towards single payer. That's what they want to do.
But if they spend all their time talking about, this list that was put out, this big scary list of potential investigations that could be, then those
But they don't. You didn't hear
out.
any of that out of Conor Lamb's mouth or Danny O'Connor's mouth. That isn't what Sherrod Brown is out on the trail talking about. Yes, of course, if you're going to go to an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez rally or listen to Cynthia Nixon. Yeah, but that was my point in the earlier block. This is what the right wants you to think Democrats are talking about, but they are talking about
Democrats are also fighting about these issues, but we have to move on.
Okay.
To another segment. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Polling
it's my
shows President Trump appears to be defying critics' hopes of major blowback after his associates got faced with big legal troubles last week. We'll show you the findings and break down what it all means ahead of the midterms.